God for Good Samaritan Ministries. Playground here. Good Samaritan has been around for 10 years. I'm on your board, along with several pastors here. And they minister to men and women with children. There's very few ministries that do that, but Good Samaritan does it in a stand-up way. So Clay, you come on up, brother. And what difference Jesus made in his life?
Well, Jesus made a big difference in my life. I was born in North Carolina, 1984. We moved down to Fort Pierce when I was about 2 years old. My mom met my stepdad, which ended up becoming my dad. We moved to White City. I went to White City Elementary all my elementary school years. I got through middle school. My mom and my dad got married. And in middle school, we moved up to Georgia. We had a house in Georgia. My dad used to work at FP&I. He was a teacher instructor at Fort Carolina. When I got up to the age of 13, we had just moved up there, and he got really sick. So we went to the doctors and couldn't figure out what was going on. Come to find out he had cancer, intestinal cancer, in the line of his stomach. So about 6 months later, he had passed. And I think that's where my life was taking a turn. I didn't have any direction. I didn't have anyone to show me which way to go, how to do things. And I got mixed into the wrong crowd. Started off light drinking, smoking weed and all that stuff. But then eventually I got into, the more hardcore stuff. That led me to get arrested quite a few times. I ended up having to go to prison in 2008 for 3 years. I got out after that in 2011. I went through a program here in down in Lucy. I ended up getting a girl pregnant with kids. Didn't know what I was doing. I had no direction. Didn't know who I was, how to be a man, how to be a dad. And a few months right after they were born, met my wife today, Christina. And I knew something was missing this whole time. I just had this void inside of me. I didn't know how to fill it, I tried using alcohol, drugs, money, whatever it was, and I was never satisfied until I met Jesus. So I went to, I got hold of my brother. My brother's here today too. He called me. He's like, "Man, why don't you come to the program and get straightened out?" And I'm like, "Yeah. I got to do it all for a few months, and eventually got to the point where I had nowhere else to go. God closed every door and had one door open for me. There was that choice that I had to make at that point in time in my life. Where I'm going to live, I'm going to die. And I didn't know the plans of death, God had for me. So my brother called me one day. He's like, "Dad, I'm on my way to your house. I'm coming to get you right now." I'm like, "All right, well, how far away are you?" He said, "I'm right around the corner." I'm like, "Oh, man." I didn't really want to go. But I ended up going with my fiance, my 2 kids that I just got. And I wasn't doing the right thing at that point in time. But, I made that decision. And I came to Good Samaritan Ministries. Now, I remember the first night. When I called and I talked to Pastor Vito, I told him, I said, "Look, I've been trying to find places around here, things County, Fort Pierce, Stewart, Martin County. First off, you have to have money, because I don't have. Second off, you can't have kids or a significant other. So I don't have anything. He said, "When can you come?" And I knew that if I wouldn't have had that opportunity that day, I would not be who I am today. I wouldn't be where I am. I went to the ministry and they had praise and worship going on. We had like this really radical, like loud praise and worship in the church. I heard this one song. It was just, I felt my heart was beating, like pounding in my chest. And I didn't know, and I was worried. I wanted to go down to the altar and pray and ask God to help me. And I remember, I didn't know that, but I was like, man, I should have went. So it's like, I'm never going to feel that way, because I was just, I'm good. And the next night came around, that same song came back on me, and I felt that pounding, like that burning inside of me. And I thought to myself, I'm like, why are you worried about what people think? Why are you worried about getting out on the altar and praying? You weren't worried about what people thought about you when you're out there getting high and robbed and doing what you're doing. So I went down on the altar, and I laid on my face on the altar and I cried. I said, God, please take this away from me. Please take the addiction, the selfishness. Please, Lord, just take it. And I tell you what, when I stood up, I felt like God had taken the weight of the world off my shoulders. Then the journey began. Probably a couple months later, from stuff that I had done prior to coming to ministry, more charges came up. And I was like, man, I'm doing the right thing now, and everything that's going on, I ended up having to turn myself in. Now, mind you, I've been in the ministry for almost a year now, and sober for almost a year, doing the right thing, and then the charges pop up. My God, what? So I talked to Pastor Lee on it, and I looked at him, and I go, yeah. Like, well, you trust God? You trust God? And I said, yeah, I trust God. I trust God. I said, well, when are you scared? What are you scared for? That night, back then, in the ministry, we didn't really have much on at all. So there was a guy, Joe, that was actually in the program. The bond was $70,000. No, it was $700,000. And I went to turn myself in on the first appearance the next day. I talked to Judge Akusi. He was Judge Akusi. And I tell you what, I spoke to him, I told him what God had been doing in my life, and how God had been moving. He said that he's never, in his entire career, he ever gave a bond reduction at the first appearance. Guess what he did? He gave me a bond reduction. Amen? That's God. That's all it is. That's all it is, right? So I ended up getting out on pre-trial. Long story short, because I only had about 15 minutes. I got on pre-trial, did 18 months on pre-trial. And in the process, my two kids that me and my wife had gotten prior to us going to ministry, we've been going back and forth to court. And in New York County, we ended up getting full custody of our twins, being in general. And all of that, I went to the doctor and he told me that I had 5 years to live, that over 2/3 of my liver was destroyed from cirrhosis, and I would have to be up for all my liver transplant. But one night we were praying before we get deliverance, and all I knew, I started sweating, and I felt like this fire inside of me. And, because when I heard that, I got scared. I'm like, man, how am I getting to grow up like that? I don't want to go through what I went through. I just wanted to be a good dad to my kids. And that night we were in there praying, and I felt fire inside of me. And all I heard, I'm like, Jesus, Lord, what is this? And all I heard was, receive your healing. Receive your healing. So I went to the doctor to do blood work, and I went to Quest Diagnostics. They called me back up and said, listen, you can do blood work again, because I'm not really understanding what this is saying right now. I can't really believe it. It means you go get it done again. So I went again. He called me into the office, and he's got his hand on his head, he doesn't know, He's like, your liver's fully functional. What have you been on? Right? So one day, this is all in the process of these first couple of years of us being in ministry. And 2015, my wife and I, we got married. We had our son Seth. And right after that, I went to court. I didn't even know, I hadn't been going to court for almost 2 years now, waiting to see what's going to happen. And the last 2 offers from the state were 120 months DOC. I'm like, what? 10 years? Man, I can't do 10 years, man. So I got in prayer. I prayed with my wife. I prayed with everybody at the church. I went to court that day, and the judge was like, all right, and the judge on. He says, all right, guys, listen, this has been going on way too long. We need to settle this today. Prior to stretching this out. So I talked to my lawyer, Robert Stone. He's like, yeah, he's like, they don't want to come off for 120 months. DOC. I'm like, I can't. I got to bigger than this. So I went out to the lawyer and said, listen, let me pray real quick and ask the Lord. You know what the Lord told me? He said, plea out. You guys know what happened. Plea out, right? You went up to plea to court. They beat the minutes on all the charges. And I've already had an issue. They would think out of Jesus. Out of Jesus, I'm justified. Amen? But I went back in and I told the lawyer, I said, look, I'm going to plea out. He said, what? Are you all right? And he the judge said, are you making these statements? I am. I went in there and I put out to the mercy of the court. The judge looked at me. He had his glasses. I'll never forget it. He pulled his glasses up and looked down and looked at me and said, "What's what happened?" He said, "You could have came in here and told me you didn't do it, and this and that, and all this." He's like, "But you were honest about it." He's like, "It's amazing to hear the testimony." Now, mind you, he hadn't had that about 600 years prior to me going up there, so I'm already like, right? So I go out. And he said, "This is probably one of the most amazing stories that I've ever heard." And he's like, state attorney, asked the state attorney. He said, what's the offer? 120 months, Department of Corrections. They looked at him, they looked at me, but I don't know why I'm doing this. He said, "I can't let you go home today scot free." He said, "But what I can do is sentence you to the lowest permissible sentence upon the guidelines of the state of Florida." He said, "I will sentence you to 16.4 months. 16 months from 120. Where did that happen? Amen? God is amazing.
Amen.
Now, in this time, I had to go to prison, and I asked God, I said, "Lord," I said, "Why? I have done what I'm supposed to do. I'm a good dad. Like, why?" And I didn't get an answer because I was bad. And you normally don't answer me when I'm upset, right? You know that I don't really like to say it on that. So I sat in that bunk in Delta East 10. For 2 weeks, I started doing Bible studies on the Gospel of John, and there was an atheist guy there, and he used to try to challenge, the Word. I said, "Look, I'm not here to argue." He's like, "Where do you get this teaching from? Like, where do you get this doctrine from?" He's like, "You people come here, they tell me that they're trying to teach from going hell." I said, "Listen, God doesn't tell me. He's not going to force himself on anyone." So he just sat back and observed. It says, "Therefore be imitators of God as dear children, and walk in love," right? So that's what I did. I followed the example of Jesus Christ. And you want to know what happened? The night that I went to the DOC, that man gave his life to Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And you know what the answer that God gave me was? In Acts, you guys heard in the Epistle of Acts, where it talks about Paul being converted. He told Ananias, he said, go to the city of the street called Straight and inquire of Saul from Tarsus. And he said, and I know this man. He has permission from the chief priests and the scribes to buy anyone that speaks in your name and put him in prison. He said, go, for he's a chosen vessel for me. I must show him many things that he will suffer for my name's sake. And I got my answer. And at that time, I didn't know that the Lord was raising me up to be a pastor. Amen? But God is God. And He knows best. Amen? So I ended up getting out of prison. Moved into went back to a men's house for a few months. Just working and I don't know, the way that I just, sitting there before I got out, I was reflecting on my life prior to being there and to that point. Just looking at how faithful God is. And for Him to use somebody like me, I didn't deserve anything. And I got to that point after I got out of prison. Prior to that, I was ready to leave. I got sober, I got straight, I went to a job, and well, guess what? I had more kids. Me and my wife had more kids. We had Seth right before I went in. Right after I got out, right before I got out, I went to Hannah. And then we had Levi. We just had Levi in 2 months. We're going to we got Jaden, Gemma, Seth, Levi. Jaden, Gemma, Seth, and Levi. And Gabby, Austin, Jeremiah, and Johnny. So we got a whole squad. Amen? Something that I've learned at the time that I made that decision to give my life to God is how to be a man. How to be a husband. How to be a dad to my kids. Not only that, and now God has entrusted me with a ministry of 250-something people, man. I have to stand there and learn so much on how to get direction, how to just trust the Lord, man. There's been situations and things that have happened in the ministry where it was only God. Amen. And we had to trust. And we wouldn't have the money to finish paying the bills at the end of the month. And Pastor would be like, I ain't worried about nothing. God can show up right when it's time. Guess what? $12,000 check with the mail. Bam. Right before the rent was due. You know what I mean? So this whole time me being in the ministry and giving my life to God, I've seen so many miracles. And I'm so grateful to even have the opportunity to be here today. 10 years ago, I would have been nervous to come in the room with a bunch of sheriffs. Amen? And here I am, taking a picture with Mr. Ken Mascara. Amen? I just think about
Amen. We'll shifting here. Let me set my notes. Amen. I heard Clay came into the jail and shared his testimony, and Clay